Narcissists are notorious for putting you through idealization and devaluation stages. When they are idealizing you, it's like you can't do anything wrong. And when they're devaluing you, it's like you can't do anything right. Nothing you do is ever good enough. And in today's video, I want to talk about why, when you're in this stage, narcissists are really good at convincing you that this is your fault, that you're the one who has changed, or you're the one who truly can't do anything right, or you're the one who is truly not good enough, when in reality, this is an inevitable part of a narcissistic relationship. And when you're in this devaluation stage, the narcissist actually won't let you make them happy. They won't let you be good enough, no matter what you do. And that's what we're going to go over in today's video. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. Before I get into the reasons why a narcissist is actually emotionally invested in finding reasons to be disappointed in you, I first want to start by explaining a narcissist's emptiness and a vicious cycle that the narcissist is forever doomed to be stuck in. I think this emptiness, this anger, this bitterness that narcissists constantly live with, this insecurity, is something I could probably go on for hours and hours and hours just alone. So I'm going to try to keep it simple because that's not the topic of the video. But narcissists are really stuck in a really unfulfilling, empty, shallow, uncomfortable emotional state. They never really feel like they're good enough. They don't trust anybody. They're never fulfilled. Nothing ever makes them feel like their life is truly meaningful or purposeful. And they don't have the wherewithal or the willingness to really try to truly find their way out of this vicious cycle. Because as human beings, to feel fulfilled and to feel secure and comfortable with who we are and the course of our lives, we need things like relationships, community, connection, reciprocity, and narcissists are just not capable or willing to do what it takes to build any of these things in their life. They don't want connection. They don't want people to see them for who they are. They don't want to know who they really are. Narcissists are constantly chasing really shallow, superficial means of fulfillment, cheap thrills to get them from moment to moment in life. And I don't think the vast majority of them are even able to consciously think of it this way, but they don't want to chase after things or to build things that are truly lasting and meaningful, because those things all require accountability and vulnerability. And I think that these are things that narcissists don't even have the emotional capacity to understand or receive. A lot of you have probably heard the analogy of a narcissist being like a pitcher with a hole in the bottom. You're constantly filling them up, and everything you fill them with is just constantly running out the bottom. And so they are just constantly emptying themselves. No matter how much they receive, no matter how much is given to them, they're just constantly emptying themselves, and they're empty as soon as you stop pouring. I think one thing that we probably don't talk about very much is the idea that I think all of us to a point are like pitchers with a hole in the bottom, because all of us need some level of things that we're receiving in our life, things that we're experiencing in our life to feel fulfilled, to feel like our lives have meaning and purpose. We can't just have one meaningful, purposeful year and then spend the next 20 years with just empty, shallow, meaningless stuff, right? We all need something in our day-to-day lives that gives us a feeling of fulfillment and meaning. But I think with a narcissist, this hole in the bottom of the pitcher is much, much larger than it is with most people. And I really think that anything they're receiving loses its meaning as soon as the moment has passed. So nothing really sticks with them. They don't really have any capacity to hold anything of meaning. It just runs right through them and it's gone. And I also think that the things that they are filled with, the things they're receiving that give them some kind of sense of comfort or fulfillment, are different from those of most people. Narcissists don't feel fulfillment when they give to others unless they perceive it as something that makes them look good. They don't care about how their life is affecting other people. They don't feel fulfillment when they're connecting with others because they don't want to connect with other people. So when truly meaningful things are in their life, they don't really have the capacity to recognize or receive things that other people can feel a lot of meaning and purpose through. So the things that we're pouring into this pitcher in a normal person are things that the narcissist doesn't even know what to do with. So what does all this have to do with you trying to make the narcissist happy and being in a position where nothing you do is ever good enough? Nothing is ever going to make them happy, no matter how hard you try. Let's start at the beginning of a relationship where the narcissist is idealizing you, where you are good enough. And even if the narcissist is your parent, there was probably some stage, and I know everyone's different, every relationship is different, but there was probably some stage, some point of time where your parent had this idea of you making them look good, or you building some kind of identity for them that they wanted to show to the world, right? Narcissistic parents view their children as tools to build up their own image and their own ego, right? So even if the narcissist is your parent, there was probably some point in time, maybe not always, but there was probably some point in time where the narcissist was idealizing you, maybe even before you were born. But whatever kind of relationship this is, whether it's a friendship or romantic relationship, this stage is a point in time where the narcissist is kind of riding on the thrill of the initial stages of the relationship. And they really feel like you're going to fill this emptiness, this void in their soul that they feel. You're going to solve these problems. You're going to finally be the thing that makes them feel good about themselves for the rest of their lives. And they're really excited about that. You're going to make them look good. You're going to validate them and validate all the things that they believe about themselves. And you're going to make them the center of the universe or whatever. So they're riding on this thrill of this relationship that's starting. And in this stage, you are good enough in their imagination because they have these really unrealistic expectations that aren't based on anything real. And I want to add, when they are idealizing you, they are not recognizing any of the real value that you bring to a relationship. Whatever you have inherent in you that is what others would value in a relationship with you, whatever gifts you have that you bring to the table, the things that make you unique, the things that people truly love about you and see in you, those things are lost on the narcissist. Those things are wasted on the narcissist. The narcissist doesn't see or recognize any of your true gifts, any of your true value. Those things are just wasted. And what they do see are things in their imagination of how you're going to make them feel good about themselves for the rest of their lives. You're going to fulfill them and make this emptiness go away. You're going to save the world. It's this cheap thrill. It's the initial thrill of the relationship. And for a narcissist, That's all there ever is. There's nothing else of substance to any relationship other than that initial thrill, that superficial, shallow feeling in the beginning of a relationship before you've even really gotten to know somebody, because they're never really going to get to know you. So when that thrill wears off, everything's gone. There's nothing left for them. There's nothing to build. There's nothing to get to know. There's nothing to see, because they can't see your true worth, and they don't understand the meaning behind any of the really meaningful, important things that you have to give to a relationship. Those things are just wasted on them. And when this happens, when this emptiness comes back, this is when you go into this devaluation stage. And I have to say, most narcissists, probably the vast majority, are completely unconscious to all of this. They don't understand why they're doing what they're doing, why they're feeling what they're feeling. And a lot of that is willful. They don't want to understand these things. They don't want to look in the mirror. They are emotionally invested in finding reasons to blame you for this emptiness. So these feelings that they struggled with, feelings of insecurity, anger, bitterness, meaninglessness, whatever, that they thought you were going to solve, these feelings they've struggled with before they ever knew you. Well, now that it turns out you weren't able to solve all those things for them, well, now not only are you to blame for not solving these problems, but they're going to do mental gymnastics to try to come up with reasons that you're the one that caused these problems. Narcissists are absolutely devoted to avoiding any accountability for anything, whether it be the things they've done or their own emotional state. Because if there was anything they could do to make their lives better, if there was anything they could change, a different way to look at things that would improve their emotional state, that would improve their relationships, improve their lives, well, that means that they haven't been perfect all their life. That means that there were things they could have been doing that would have been better than what they were doing. That's accountability. And a narcissist would rather live the rest of their lives in pure anger and bitterness and misery than to recognize the idea that maybe they could have been doing things in a better way up until now. Their ego just cannot handle even that level of accountability. They would much rather find a way to just blame you for all these feelings that they have. Blame you for not doing your job of fixing their emotional state. They are emotionally invested in finding things to point to say, well, look, you're messy. Look, you don't listen. You're not fun anymore. Well, you're not pretty enough or whatever. Look at the way that you do this and the way that you do that. That's why we're so miserable. That's why I don't feel good about myself. That's why the thrill wore off. They are emotionally invested in finding any reason they can to prove to themselves, really, that this is all your fault. That this emptiness that they have, that the reason that the thrill wore off is your fault. Not their fault. It can't be their fault because they can't handle that kind of accountability, even though the thrill wearing off in a relationship is nobody's fault, right? But then what's left for them? Then nothing in this world means anything at all. If the initial thrill is just always going to wear off, there's nothing else left. There's nothing else that means anything. So instead of facing all these things, it has to be your fault. And that's why when you get into the devaluation stage, and they start pointing these things out, like you don't listen, you're not a good cook, you don't clean good enough, or you drive too slow, or I don't like the music you listen to, or your clothes are ugly, whatever it is. When you fix these things, they're not happier. They just find something else to complain about. And I'm sure many of you listening have probably experienced this. When the narcissist tells you that you're doing X, Y, or Z, you're not good enough, you're not doing these things good enough, and you try to improve these things, it never works. Nothing ever gets better. even if you're able to do these things perfectly, you either are never able to improve these quote problems to a point where they're happy, or if you are, they just find something else to complain about. They just find something else to tear you down about. Narcissists don't want you to fix these things. And that's the really confusing part of this. They frame things in a way, they manipulate you to see things in a way that make you feel like you're the one who let them down, because that's what they want to believe. They want you to believe that you're the disappointment because of whatever reason they're giving you. And it makes logical sense when someone that once adored you and put you up on a pedestal is now tearing you down and complaining all the time. It makes sense that if they give you specific reasons, that you would assume, well, that must be the reason, right? So it makes sense for you to want to work on those things. And it makes sense even for you to blame yourself if the narcissist is explaining to you, or the narcissist at this point in the relationship is not somebody you're looking at as a narcissist. You're looking at this person as someone that you love and trust, and someone that is telling you that you are a disappointment and you don't do X, Y, or Z like you used to, or you don't do X, Y, or Z in a good enough way. And so, of course, you're not going to question this. But in reality, over time, you come to realize, or you come to experience, that there is no way to do these things good enough. There's no way to fix these things. And that's because it's not actually your fault. That's because you're not actually the one causing the disappointment. The disappointment is something the narcissist is just chronically doomed to experience over and over and over again, because a narcissist tries to fill this emptiness inside of them. They try to fill this bitterness and this anger and this insecurity with superficial, shallow, meaningless things. And these are the only things that they are ever going to know to chase after. And so they are doomed to be stuck in this cycle of chasing after superficial, shallow things, feeling unfulfilled and empty, and then blaming it on somebody else, anybody else, because it can't possibly be their fault. And so again, I want to reiterate, when you are stuck in this devaluation stage and they are telling you that you don't do this right, you don't do that right, they aren't going to let you fix those things, because those are not things that are actually causing their angst. Those are the things that they are depending on to use to avoid accountability. So if there is something you actually do that isn't great, maybe you're late, you're always late to everything. And so they pick that up and they complain, you're always late to everything. And maybe you struggle with this and, you start doing better at it, but it doesn't do any good, right? You got to understand that they like that you're always late to everything, because that gives them something to blame. That gives them something to point to say, yeah, none of this is my fault and it's your fault. I knew it was your fault because look, you're always late to everything. And they love having that to hold on to. So if you actually fix this and you actually stopped being late all the time, it would actually frustrate them. And you can see this when you improve definable things they complain about. You can see this. They are not happy. They are not satisfied. It's almost as if they never complained about it in the first place, and they're on to something else. And I also want to mention that many times the things they're complaining about are not definable. They aren't things that are really easy to measure, like being on time or being late for things. Sometimes the things they're complaining about are, you don't clean enough, or your clothes are ugly, right? Really subjective things like, well, when have I cleaned enough? And well, what clothes look good? Does this look good? Does that look good? Or you don't listen enough. Well, how much listening is good enough? These really subjective things, they will pick these things up on purpose because they are subjective, and you can put all the effort in the world into improving these things, and they can simply just absolutely refuse to acknowledge any of it. They can just spend the rest of the relationship complaining about the same things over and over and over again, no matter how much you try to improve those things, because they're subjective. And again, understand, they don't want you to fix these things. They don't want these things to get better. They are emotionally invested in seeing you fail at certain things so that they can blame you for the things they don't want to take accountability for. And on top of this, let's just talk about their insecurity for a minute. Narcissists are extremely insecure people, and sometimes people argue with me about this, but people who are truly confident, people who have a true solid sense of their self-worth, don't go around destroying other people's lives for no reason. They don't go around tearing other people down to make themselves feel better. They're not hypersensitive. They're not super defensive about every little thing they do. They don't fly off the handle when they're challenged. Narcissists are extremely insecure. They are constantly trying to prove their worth to themselves, and they're a pitcher with a hole in the bottom, or they're a pitcher with no bottom. Nothing is ever good enough to make them truly feel like a worthy person, like a person who's good enough. And so this is so extreme and pathological in them that they compensate in the extreme opposite, which is why they're so grandiose, which is why they treat themselves like they're the only person who exists, the only person who matters at all. And so one way that they deal with this insecurity is tearing other people down. So if you are no longer in this idealization stage where you're making them look good, maybe with something superficial and shallow, of course, maybe you're really good looking, maybe you're rich, maybe they just think you have a cool aesthetic, maybe you have a really cool car, or you live in a cool neighborhood, or you have a cool career background or education, or there's something about you that has convinced them that associating with you reflects well on their self-image. That's what's going on in the idealization stage. So there's something about you that's always going to be superficial, that's cool, that's going to make them look cool, right? But after you get out of this stage and you're in the devaluation stage, now they've got to shore up their ego and address their insecurities by tearing you down. Now you are their competition. And so that's another reason they're never going to want to admit or acknowledge when anything you've done is good enough. Because this extreme pathological insecurity that they feel in themselves means that deep down, somewhere where they don't want to acknowledge it, somewhere where they are not conscious of it, they don't feel like anything they do is ever good enough. And so if they are to acknowledge that you've done something good enough, that means you're better than them. And that means they might as well just crawl in a hole and die right now. So that's what it means to them to acknowledge that anything you've done is satisfactory, or to even acknowledge that you are a worthwhile human being is something that in this competition in their head would automatically mean that they are a worthless piece of dirt. And that's another reason that they are never going to want to acknowledge that anything you've done is good enough. Being able to point out what a worthless loser you are makes them feel better about themselves. And they don't want to let that go. And they don't care how that affects you or how that makes you feel, because all they care about is how they feel. And then, of course, there's one more reason that narcissists do this, and that's, again, related to their insecurity and their lack of self-worth. And that is that they are bullies, and they like picking on people. It makes them feel powerful. It makes them feel like they have control over something. It makes them feel important. So if they have people in their lives that they can just yell at or insult, people they can just tear down, people that they can make feel small, that makes them feel good. That makes them feel like, well, hey, I'm a pretty important person. I'm a pretty powerful person. Look at how much I'm able to hurt these people around me. Look at how I'm able to just treat these people however I want, keep them under control, keep them in check, put them in their place. Well, that means I'm a pretty important person. And so we can't overlook that as well. It really feeds their ego to be a bully and to pick on people who don't know how to fight back, or people that believe the manipulation, people that love them and care about them, people that want to try to make them happy. This is something they can take advantage of and fulfill that need to have someone to pick on. So to finish the video off, if this is something you've experienced, I want to give you another analogy, and that is one of somebody who buys a brand new car or something, you know, maybe a $3,000 purse or whatever. Somebody that buys something really expensive and fancy to try to fill an emotional void within themselves. This is a pretty common stereotype that we hear about, right? People buying something really expensive to try to make themselves feel good, right? Like a brand new car. And as we can predict, this person that buys a brand new car to make themselves feel good about themselves, maybe they're going through a midlife crisis, trying to find some kind of meaning or some kind of thrill, right? This thrill that they feel when they buy this brand new car, it works for a little while. They do feel better for a little while because it's new and exciting, right? And then the thrill wears off. And then these feelings that they haven't dealt with start to come back because this superficial, shallow fix didn't actually address the problem, right? In this analogy, narcissists are someone who they get mad at the car. They blame the car. But I want you to really think about the fact that the car never changed. The car was the same when it was purchased as it was when the thrill started to wear off. The car didn't do anything wrong. The car didn't promise to be anything more than a car. And in that same way, when you are stuck in this kind of cycle with a narcissist, none of this has anything to do with you. You did not change. The narcissist's perspective changed. You are worth just as much as you were in the beginning of this relationship. And the things that truly make you special, the gifts that you truly have, the best parts about you were never recognized by the narcissist, even when they were idealizing you. You are the same then as you were when they started complaining, or at least you had the same gifts to give. You were worth just as much then as you are now. Your worth didn't diminish, and the things you have to offer in a relationship didn't disappear. You were worthy of love and respect and companionship and connection in the beginning of the relationship, and you are still worthy of that same connection. You're still worthy of love and acceptance just as much as you were in the beginning. You are not to blame for the reasons that the narcissist became unsatisfied with you. You have nothing to do with the reasons that the narcissist started to devalue you. It is not your fault. And the things that caused this devaluation are things that are not your responsibility to fix. And they are things that you cannot fix. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.